Sure. The peanuts.
Now, we have another presentation to complement the academic track career more. And this is, we're very proud now to present Heidari, a graduate of the university. Sam has had a career in the industry. He's currently the CEO of
I need to ask you something later. Yes. Yes. More time. Yes. Can you give me some references or papers of yours or like classical references for these timing and camera balance?
Sure.
Because you talk about information.
Sure, absolutely. Also, my student is getting a present poster, so he knows all the details of this stuff. So check
Hey,
his.
you stole my
It's a great pleasure to introduce Sam. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, Max was my PhD advisor, and that was part of, I guess, how my career started. So it's an honor to be here in such a great audience. I got an email, I don't know, a few months ago that asked me to participate in this and present. So first I was wondering, if there was an error or if it was a spam, because between all the big graduates that USC has produced, why me? But I went through the thing and I checked the email carefully, opened it with care to make sure nothing else opens up, and it was a true email. And I replied, I said, I'd be honored. And later came the sponsorship request, and I knew why. Also the email asked that, you be an honorary alumni of CSI for a day, which is still an honor. I spent 5 years to get my PhD from the Signal Processing Institute, one floor below, and 17 years been in the communication field. So even if I'm one day an honorary alumni here, I appreciate it. So my talk is going to be a lot more at a higher level. I didn't take half of the courses that Mo took, so I couldn't talk about all the details of the math for you. But I will talk to you a little bit about higher level about what is some of the trends and the technologies we should develop in the industry as a overall contribution to the businesses, and then what is some of the merits of them. So I will give an overview of the 802.11n and the wireless connectivity in general. Deep a little bit further in 802.11 and deep a little bit further in 802.11n, 11AC, which is just coming up, and then some market opportunities. So we had two great speakers so far today, and the first one covered a lot of different trends in the industry. So the way I envision the future of the use or the connectivity is everything is going to be shared. There's going to be any content anywhere, any place, anytime. And it's going to be a lot of thin devices. So what does the thin devices means is there is your computation and the storage is somewhere else, so the connectivity becomes more important. And it's going to be very personalized. Means that you take your content with you everywhere. Again, you have to have a good connectivity to retrieve that content, because not necessarily that huge amount of content can be duplicated everywhere. So it's more interactive, more video. The percentage of the video usage over the internet significantly has increased in the recent years. We are talking about somewhere between 70 to 90% of the throughput today is video. And all of these means excellence in wireless connectivity, because you're moving around and you like to have connectivity to the content or the computational power somewhere else that you like to benefit from that. We strongly believe that 802.11 has the solution for this, and along with the other type of the standards, but there's a good portion of the this need is going to be served by 802.11, and we have built a company around that merit. So if I was going to talk, look at the whole, what makes the wireless connectivity standards today, there's a lot of things out there. I wouldn't claim that I know everything about every one of them. I've spent a lot of time in the past 3 years on the 802.11, and that's where I'm going to talk about mostly. This is some of the financial analyst reports talking about the future of the connectivity going forward. If you look at 2008, it's a little bit spread. There is cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. I guess it's not connectivity, but it's what the chips inside the mobile devices. Going fast forward to 2015, we are talking most of the devices will have Wi-Fi inside. And the projection is more than 2 billion chipsets to be sold by 2015, Wi-Fi chipsets. And this year actually is about 1.5 billion chipsets. That's what the projection would be for this year. So there's a lot of chips which are being sold in Wi-Fi. And I talk about why Wi-Fi, because the need is very spread. What do you need? Some people need low power, some people need high performance, the range is important in some places, the reliability is important in some places. And 802.11 has enabled the user or the manufacturer to choose, depending to the different needs of the application, what feature sets and so forth they like to put in that chipset in order to cater to that need. So talking about the overview of the Wi-Fi. First came 802.11, very low throughput for basic internet connectivity. 11B came along, and it was enabling emails and internet connection, a little bit higher throughput, up to 11 megabits per second. Then it came 11G and 11A, one in 5 gigahertz bandwidth, one in 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth, almost the same as standard, but for different bandwidths. And the rate and the range went higher, up to 54 megabits per second. 11N actually provide the range of what can be done. You can do very low throughput, you can do very high throughput. And depending what you do with your configurations of the options in the standards. And now we are talking about 11AC, which is coming along. The standards to be rectified this year. There's already pre-11AC products out there, pre-standards. And the range is a lot higher. So you can be as low as almost a 11N or a 11G product. And you could go up to 7 gigabits per second using a Wi-Fi technology. If I was going to look at the range versus the rate throughput, again, the 11A was at that corner on the bottom, the range versus rate. 11, sorry, no A. 11B got better in both. Then 11G and A improved. Now, actually, to the earlier point, you can design 11N, which has a wide range. So just because it's 11N doesn't qualify what is the range and the throughput. Depending if you're doing 4x4 MIMO with the 4 streams simultaneously transmitting, your throughput is a lot higher than a 1x1, which is almost equal to 11A with some improvements. And depending if you're using beamforming or not, your range could change. Depending if you're using LDPC, all these options which were defined in the standards but not mandated in the standards, you could have a variation in the throughput and the range. And that gets actually a lot more wider when you go to 11AC. 11AC has enabled more options, and those more options allows you to have a bigger choice about how you design the product for what application. If your power is important and the cost is important, you might do one stream only product, and without any other options like beamforming and so forth, and you'll be in one corner. And if the range and the throughput and reliability is important, you can do an 8x8 product and be in the other corner with the beamforming, LDPC, and multi-user MIMO, and so forth. So here's a list of all the different options, or all the different merits of the 802.11n. Up to 4 streams of simultaneous transmission. Works pretty well in the indoor environment, but you have a lot of diversity of the channel. Digital beamforming, there were a couple of different options how you did it. And some people did it this way versus that way. And they went up to 40 megahertz channels, so they increased the spectrum utilizations. They optimized the physical layer guard bands to get more throughput and more MAC and efficiencies with aggregations and so forth, and more optimization of the bandwidth utilization in the OFDM. And they added some things like SDBC and LDPC. And it was the standard for the first time, which was covering both 2.4 gig and 5 gig. So I put this one chart for two reasons, but obviously it's an interesting chart. Second thing is I'm at USC. If I didn't put this kind of a chart, I think I will be not invited again. So this shows the packet error rate versus SNR required. It's not labeled, but there's a 5 dB steps there. So in one end, you have a 2x2 MIMO, and the other end, you have the 4x4 MIMO plus beamforming. Actually, this chart could have been probably developed with one of the guys in the audience here that worked at Quantenna before Frederick. But it basically shows the variation that you can get on the throughput and the SNR required to get the same throughput, depending what configuration you're using in the 11N standards. 4x4 MIMO, you can send 4 streams. Everyone knows this better than me, but for completeness, here's a figure explaining that you have 4 transmit antennas or N transmit antennas, N receive antennas, and you have to de-equalize the channel in order to get the information back. But due to the diversity and the rank of the channel, you can send multiple streams at the same time. Other thing is a beamforming, which has a merit of pre-coding for a given channel or pre-equalizing for a given channel to certain users, and also can be used in order to mitigate and cancel the energy of the non-unwanted noise. So now, 11AC, talking about 11AC. There were some additional options added in 11AC. Only mandatory option was that we go from 40 megahertz to 80 megahertz channel to claim an 11AC product. The rest of them were actually optional, that what you do and you can claim 11AC. So when the 11AC products comes up, the only factor will be required, the 11AC stamp on it is that you have 80 megahertz channel. You can be at up to 160 megahertz channel. You have a 256 QAM, so you have a better bits per hertz transmission than before. And you can have actually up to 8 streams talking to 2 different guys at the same time, up to, talking to maximum of 4 streams to each guy at the same time through the multi-user MIMO. Multi-user MIMO is another option. And the transmit beamforming, there were a couple of different options in the 11N and became only one option for 11AC standards. So talking about the constellation, 256 QAM requires a lot of SNR. It is good for the applications which are very short range and they require a high throughput, but at the same time also is good for claim a big number on the box, so you will see a lot of devices out there who can claim a big throughput because of having this. Maybe that throughput only works in the short range, but that's nothing that you can prevent you from that. Multi-user MIMO. Today, if you are talking to an inferior device, let's say if you are a 4x4 MIMO system with 4 streams, if you're talking to a 2-stream device, you have to downgrade yourself to 2 streams. So the overall network capacity is a function of who is the weakest link in the environment. With a multi-user MIMO, we can have for example, two 2-stream devices talking to a 4-stream device at the same time, which brings up the overall network capacity higher. Here's a comparison curve between the 3x3 11AC and a 4x4 11AC and a 4x4 11N. The point is, as a function of distance, as the attenuation increases, because the total power is the same in the total power is the same that you can transmit. You are better off to go to lower bandwidth with higher density, so your performance falls back to 11N as a function of distance. And another issue with 11AC is the interference. So you increase the bandwidth, but the total available bandwidth is is the same as before. So the total number of the available channels are half or less. So you have to be careful that in some of the deployed areas, you have to fall back to the 11N mode because of the interference that exists out there, because you want to, in order to avoid the interference, it's better off that you be in a smaller channel, which is clean, versus a wider channel, which is taken by many. So now talking about a little bit of the market opportunities. So we talked about various things this morning, about the various type of applications, and I don't think necessarily one solution would fit all, and it would be required to do one solution. In one end, you have the high bandwidth, which is the multimedia distribution, enterprise applications, such as like set-top boxes who are receiving video, enterprise APs, DVRs, game units, and so forth, who need a lot of throughput to work and the reliability. When you have an unbuffered video because of the services like AT&T Uverse or DirecTV and so forth, that you are doing channel switching, you don't want to be buffering up the wireless every time you are changing the channel and wait 10 seconds for that. So it has to be a very high throughput, very high reliability connectivity in order for it to make it work. The other side is location-aware services, which is the range and the throughput maybe is not required to be as high, or the home control services, which is all about the range and not necessarily about the throughput. And to give you an idea about some of the Wi-Fi systems we can provide to these applications, here is a video. Oops, wait. I need to connect the audio. Just turn it up. It is up. It is up. Oh, okay. On the computer. Okay.
So today, our set-top boxes are tethered via coax to get the video signals. When we go to a media server arrangement, we now have the choice of using video over IP. And that IP can go over any LAN PHY layer in the home, including Wi-Fi. So with Wi-Fi, we're looking at some advanced capabilities in the new Wi-Fi technology. It's multiple antenna arrays using 802.11n standards that are greatly increase the distances and bandwidth performance on Wi-Fi. This is an 802.11n multiple antenna array Wi-Fi video access point. We're sending video here to our access point. It's a full resolution 3D HD image, 40 megabits per second, being streamed live. We have it set up on a cart, battery powered, and we're going to take it down the hall to see how well our Wi-Fi signal performs as we increase the distance and the penetration through walls. We are now over 200 feet away from our originating signal access point. Our Wi-Fi signal is still holding up strong. Our video performance is showing no artifacts. We're also going through several sheetrock and steel walls. Pretty impressive, right?
So it is the first time that people can see that Wi-Fi can provide this kind of a reliability and throughput over the range. When you're talking about to the service providers, it's very important for them that they guarantee this, because the cost of their or the revenue associated with their monthly charges of the service for a video is significantly higher than an equipment cost itself. Per month is bigger than equipment cost, so any disruption there is detrimental to them. So this new generation of Wi-Fi, and that being our product, is showing that kind of a performance today. And then, you got all different ranges of things. So this one is not necessarily for everything. It will not fit inside a cell phone, but it provides a range for a set-top box or access point. And then there's a different type of products who will do that otherwise. So another type of talking about that is, the trend is that there's a lot of video inside the home getting distributed, and multi-room content sharing is essential for this. That's the trend which is happening. And the objective is to have the multi-room DVRs across the home and be able to play the content of them from one to another anytime. And from what we know is there's a great saving for the service providers by using Wi-Fi, because installation cost is significantly reduced. The time that the technician spends at home to wire your home goes significantly down. In some of the deployments that we have had, there's actually no technician visit is required. The boxes are shipped and no wire is required, and you can just connect the set-top box to the power and get going. So that's one reason to deploy wireless. The other reason is actually the content share, the content going to the tablets and the mobile devices. Your mobile devices and the, such as your tablets and cell phones and so forth are becoming the portable TVs. And today, the over-the-top services like Netflix, they can provide those content to any device versus traditional service providers like AT&T or DirecTV and so forth that have been limiting things to a set of TVs inside your home. By going to Wi-Fi, they enable giving new services to compete with the over-the-top type of applications. And that's important for them because if they don't, over time, they could become just a data provider, which is a lot less revenue than being a video provider. You pay a lot more to have the content in your home than you pay for your data. So that is important for them. Another application is the wireless TV. The flat screen TVs are becoming cheaper and cheaper every day. Now the cost of installation of a TV in a location that you didn't have is a lot more than the cost of the TV itself. So wireless TV could be the next wave in a sense that, in all the places that now you couldn't put a TV today because there's a technician visit required or the cable will look very ugly around your home. You can buy a TV and place it, in your garage, in your kid's bedroom, anywhere that there was no installation for it before. So in conclusion, actually, let me just show you one more video. I like videos because they keep me in business.
Time for your high-tech update from the AT&T UVerse studio.
It's the classic catch-22. You want a TV in every room, but you don't want to have to drill holes or run wires. Well, now new technology is making it possible to watch your shows in any room in the house, even without a cable outlet, thanks to wireless boxes.
Let's UVerse this house.
This has got to be one of the most high-tech boxes to ever sit on top of a television. The only wires back here are running to the TV itself. Now we get to see the brains of the operation. This is sending that video signal.
This is sending the video signal Wi-Fi to the set-top box.
It's so much more convenient, and I love the idea of just being able to move the box to wherever we'd like to have it in the home or outside.
You don't have to drill holes, you don't have to run wires. We can keep customers much happier without having cables running around their rooms.
Once they're installed, they don't have to stay put. So let's say you're having a big party, you want to put the TV outside, just bring the box out there. I'm Rich DeMiro, that's your Tech Report.
So then the conclusion slide. Basically, different applications have different needs for wireless. Wireless is the way of future. I think Wi-Fi is emerging as a dominant interface going forward with the number of units sold and how it is widely spread and the flexibility that it provides for different applications. And the quality of experience over wireless is becoming a lot more important. Before it was about connectivity and convenience. Going forward, the quality is going to be very important going as well. And there will be, you'll see new innovations and new products in this area, which is going to serve various applications going forward. That's all I have. Thank you very much.